Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Today we will present our academic listening project. Before it, let me introduce ourselves. My name is Muhammad Burhannudin Faata, and my partner is
Muhammad Farhan.
okay. Oh, this is our picture. Hello everyone. This is us. Okay. For the next, we will be presented by my partner, Farhan.
Okay, the first slide. TOEFL IBT. TOEFL IBT is a 4-hour computerized test with 4 sections. The are reading, speaking, listening, and writing. This test is to test your skills in each section. You will use one main skill in each section. Like for example, you have 20 minutes on speaking and 15 minutes on writing. But different with 2 sections left, reading and listening. Reading ranges from 60 and to 80 minutes long, while listening range from 60 to 90 minutes long. There will be no reminder time for the time, so use your time wisely to do the test. Don't worry, you will have one 10-minute break in the middle of the test between speaking and listening sections. Take it for refresh your mind during the test.
Okay. TOEFL IBT listening section. There are 6 sections in TOEFL IBT listening section. TOEFL IBT listening. Number one is main ideas and details, implication, relationship between ideas, information of organization, and the last is speaker's objective. So the first one is main ideas. Every listening sample will begin in the same way with a main idea question. This question asks you to identify the main point of the lecture or conversation. So you have to listening for the main idea, like what, who, why, and so on. When you see this kind of question, remember that you should only be concerned with the main idea of the passage, like supporting ideas, examples, and counter example will not be correct answer. Just because an answer choice is true doesn't mean is that it is the correct answer. It must be the most important of all the correct answer choices. They usually take one of the following form, like why does the professor ask us to see the student, and what the problem does the student have, and what is the main idea of the patient, and last, what subject is the professor mainly discussing. Okay, there is some tips for answering main ideas question. Number one is focus on the supporting ideas. So you have to read, read carefully, and you will find the main idea it is. And if the question asks for the main purpose of the conversation, the answer will be in the beginning of the conversation. And go to the easiest question first. Like you have to choose the most easiest question to do first.
Okay, the next is details. Details questions are roughly equivalent to the factual questions from the TOEFL reading section. They deal with specific facts from the listening section, but they are not usually as specific as detailed questions in the reading section. Detailed questions in the listening section rarely deal with very specific information like numbers or names. Instead, they focus on those facts that you will recognize as important as you listen to the recording. Detailed questions are usually in harmony with the main idea of the recording. Before you mark a final answer, revisit the main idea of the recording and make sure that your answer choice makes sense considering the main idea. And for the tip for answering the detailed question, As you choose your answer choice, be careful not to fall into the trap that false friends may set for you. False friends are answer choices that use keywords from the patient in a way that appears to be correct, but isn't. It's not. It's not correct. They may directly contradict the information in the patient, or they may simply to not make sense. So the in the choices is there are one the true true answer and the uh any any answer is the false. Any choices is false. And the second one, before you mark a final answer, revisit the main idea of the recording and make sure that your answer choice makes sense considering the main idea. So in this detailed question, we can answer by our hearing from the speakers, not only the speakers says, but uh, we can conclude from the main idea of the speaker says. And the last one, pay attention to the speaker because there is no second chance to listen to the audio.
Okay, and next is implications. In this section, the main purpose of this question is to make to make an inference of visits. This type of listening question usually look very similar to one of these examples. So you have to listen carefully again because that look very similar, such as like this one. What can be inferred from the professor's discussions, and what will the student probably do next, and what is implied when the speaker say this. Okay, and sometimes the question will replay a sentence from the recording for you. Other times, you will need to rely on your notes and memory to answer the question. But unfortunately, your notes may not always be much help since you can take notes on the information that isn't there. So there are tips for answering implication questions. Number one, the learning activities are using active learning methods. So uh, you rarely can do some like taking notes or something like that. And the second one is the implication is very similar to what directly said. You do not need to make a large logical jump. And then as you are listening, pay attention to the speaker's tone. It's about the word stress and in the meaning of the word. And number four is the information is in the recording. Never draw from your own thoughts or experience if they're not also spoken about in the recording. So maybe it's like rarely known. And last, the correct answer will probably use some keyword not found in the recording.
And the next is relationship between ideas. This question is the second kind of organization question that will ask you about the relationship between two or more parts of the lecture. The second kind of organization questions is the one that deals with the relationship between various parts of the lecture. For example, the test may ask you, how does the professor explain his theory about the causes of the war? To answer this question, you would need to look back at your notes and find the information that it will define to that question. These questions are about the smaller relationships rather than the overall structure. These questions This question tests your these questions test your understanding, the meaning that we get from the context. They often will ask about a very particular part of the passage, even just a single word. The question will replay a segment of the recording that contains the topic of the question, and they will replay just the topic. There will be no transcriptions provided for any part of this question. All the information will be provided through listening. These questions do not deal with the meaning of the word that the speaker says, but rather with the information that is implied by how the speaker says them. Tips for information of organization. Listen for the signals that will help you understand the organization of thought, connections between ideas, and the importance of ideas.
Okay, speaker's objective. This kind of questions often deal with the information that given not just by what the speaker says, but also by how they say it. Okay, tips for the speaker objective questions. Number one is keep the context of the conversation in mind. So you have to make sure that the context of the conversation you already know, and listen to as much natural speech as you can and pay attention to how intonation and vocal quality change with the speaker's moods, because it will express the the conversation. And the last is learn to recognize nonverbal cues and combine them with the word that the speaker used to understand exactly how the speaker feels. And again, uh, it will it will show you the expression that the speakers are saying. Okay, this is the ending of our presentation. Thank you. So that's all for us. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Goodbye, guys.